All right, it's time to talk basketball. I'm Jose Salviati, editor at thebeachbasket.net. He's Steve Purciello, a longtime educator, vice principal, high school basketball coach, athletic director, and the host of Celtic Chalk Talk. Celtic Chalk Talk is a pod dedicated to the latest news and opinions surrounding the Boston Celtics from a lifelong fan, Steve. The pod will drop new episodes every Monday.
Yes, Monday.
Make sure that you listen to the Celtic Chalk Talk, add it to your list. Steve breaks down the latest and greatest about some team from the East, I forget which, has won a few titles in the past, apparently. I don't know. You'd have to ask Steve. But he's the host of that team, or that pod. Make sure to listen. But this is a Shot Clock pod, the best 24 minutes of random thoughts online. Anywhere. This podcast was born out of the content of Steve's 13 Rules Random NBA Thoughts articles, which he publishes weekly. Steve and I have exactly 24 minutes to discuss what's on his mind around the NBA. Today, we'll discuss his latest 13 Rules Random NBA Thoughts article, where he shares his thoughts after week one of the 2025-26 NBA season. And there are lots to talk about. Steve, are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. Quick thing, though, just out of curiosity. There's no Laker discussion today, so do you want to go on?
Yeah, believe me, we'll find a way.
No,
We'll find a way. We've already had too much Celtics talk, so we're going to have to balance the scales. So we'll find a way. Don't worry about it. I'm going to start the timer right now. All right, we'll start with Alperen Sengun. He's a 6'11" starting center in the NBA and a career average shooter of 27.8 from deep. He made 5 from long range this week. So I got to ask you, how does that change his game? And when I grew up watching basketball, 6'11" centers didn't shoot threes, right? They didn't shoot from beyond 15 feet. How does this change the game? Let's just talk about the game overall. What do you think?
The game, centers aren't what they used to be. They used to be people who went down on the block and banged and scored. Think Kevin McHale, he wasn't a center, but he would just go down there. He had 30,000 moves and he just could score. Centers now are more screeners, rim protectors. Naturally shooting the three makes them valuable. That's how Al Horford has extended his career, because he can hit a three and he knows his place on an offense. He doesn't have to be the main cog that he once was. So the game has changed. Sengun has got a game where he usually likes to set himself up above the top of the key, meaning for those young people, that means above the three-point line, straight on with the basket. And he'd get the ball. Now, usually he would go right and go to the basket and shoot. He was a good player. I wouldn't say great, but a good player, solid, borderline all-star. He couldn't shoot a three. Now, Houston also is a team. They did get Durant. They need three-point shooting. Van Vliet is gone. I don't know what he did all summer, but evidently he made 5 or 6 in that first game, and maybe he was hot. Maybe that's an outlier. However, it changes the game, A, for Houston, because it brings the defense out and opens up driving lanes for everybody. And they need it for a guy like Amir Thompson, because he's not a great shooter, and he's better going to the basket. The other thing it does, it brings people out on Sengun. Now, because they're a threat of a three, he can go to the basket. And he's got a better shot of beating his man. So Sengun can raise his game from being a real good player to the borderline great. And with that, he becomes better. If you noticed in the first game against OKC, against the game that in overtime against Houston and OKC, what was happening was they were running a lot of high screen and rolls to Durant and he. Now, that thing changes. You can't drop as much anymore because Sengun could literally stay out above the three and shoot. Yeah. The game changes a little, and it gives them Houston credibility as a shooting team. And Houston does need some shooting from the three. That's the one problem they really have. So he does that. He makes the team better, but he also makes himself much better and much more difficult to guard.
Yeah, very interesting to see if this was an outlier or not, because that's a big jump. He shoot 5 or 50%, right, from three. Great start. Let's see if things level up. They probably will. Let's stay with centers. Joel Embiid a great center, more of a traditional back to the basket center. He's on a minutes restriction, but he didn't look right against the Celtics. What did you see from Embiid?
Last night he scored 20 against Charlotte, so it changes. He played the same 20 minutes and in the same pattern, a little bit into the fourth quarter and so on and so forth. On the rest of the game, I guess 6 minutes each quarter. But the thing against Boston, he looked very tentative. Looked like he didn't want to shoot the ball, didn't want the ball, and was very content in screening and staying out above the 3 line. And he took a couple threes, and he didn't make much. But the point being, he really didn't want to be part of the offense. When I watched last night, and you start thinking, is he finished? Or is he scared mentally? And is he rusty? So there's a whole mess of things going on that you're thinking when you're watching him. Last night, he looked a lot better, probably because he made a couple threes early. And that gave him a little bit of confidence to do other things with the ball. It's a jury that's still out. I think what he does understand is the game has changed on his team. It's a guard-oriented team, not a big-oriented team. Because at the end of the game, if you were watching, Quentin Grimes hit a 3 to win the game, really, with a couple, 5-10 seconds left. After it was over, Embiid was not in the game. And if you think about it, we'll talk about that in a second, but he was the first guy up to one of the first guys up to congratulate Grimes, which told you something. The other thing that's really interesting when you think about it, Nick Nurse, their coach, has got 20 minutes to spread out. How does he want to use Embiid? Knowing it's Embiid and not knowing what he looks like right now, my mind would say, I'm going to play him the last 4 or 5 minutes of the game. I'm going to put him back out there. But he hasn't done that.
Right.
It's a subtle message that he doesn't think Embiid is really there. And anyway, you got Maxey and Edgecombe, and they're the story. So you're going to use them, and where does it leave Embiid? And one more thing, when this is whatever it's worth, the other guy in this is Paul George.
Oh, yeah.
All pro. He's hurt, which has been like a regular story. But when you think about it, I believe there's $112 million tied up in those two for the next. George, I believe, has 2 more years. Embiid's got 4. Embiid, I think, is around $59 million a year, and it's going to go up. So if there's 112, and I forget exactly the cap number for tax, but let's say it's 150. That doesn't leave a lot of money. And Maxey's going to get his 30. He does get his money.
Sure.
So what do you have left before you're in that second apron? I don't know the number what a second apron is, and you can't think about trading George or Embiid. Who's going to take them? The only way they can get rid of them is to attach a bunch of draft picks with them to trade. Who's going to do that? Nobody. So Philly has Edgecombe's a rookie, so his contract is going to be low for 4 years. But in a couple of years, I guess Embiid will be just about done, and so will George. But they're going to be looking for big money. So will McCain, who's been hurt. He'll be back soon. Once he comes back, he's in the second year. He'll be closer to their bigger contract. So I don't know where they're going to do it. And then, by the way, when you have a team, you need 15 guys. A lot of teams go with 14. The hell are you going to pay the rest of that team?
Yeah.
They've got some real issues with them.
Yeah, and when you have those issues, you want to be a team that's competing for a championship. And I don't know if the Sixers right now are. They certainly didn't last year. But before we move on from the Sixers, we got to call out that they are 2 for 2 in their last 2 drafts with McCain. And you mentioned Edgecombe. That's not easy to do, but they've done it. They've got 2 really good players, and hopefully things are set for the future. Speaking of the future, there's an A-plus segue. You said Victor Wembanyama is the future. And I'm not going to disagree with that. Come on. But then you invoke the name of Wilt Chamberlain when you compared this guy, when you're talking about this guy, which took me back a little. You actually saw Wilt play. I never got to see Wilt play. But I've seen the numbers. I've seen the highlights. I'm still taken aback. Tell me why you invoke the name of Wilt when talking about Wemby.
Aren't you going to ask me if he compares with George Mikan when I saw him play?
I didn't know you saw George Mikan beat
Well,
Mikan.
and I'm not that old, but in fact, he played for some team and then they moved, and the place they moved tries to claim their championships. And it's really ironic.
I don't know what you're talking about.
It's the Lakers.
I told you they'd come up, and I knew it was going to be you that brought them up. I knew it.
Because when we talk about most championships, we have to take away a few from the Lakers.
Okay.
What were we talking about before you?
We're talking about Wemby. We're talking about the future.
You watched the other game. You know what I thought was remarkable? Their opening game. He made a move. He went around his man and went to the basket. And it looked like he didn't even jump, and he dunked it backwards. The first thing in my mind was, how big is this man? And when his arms were raised, are you talking about he could touch the rim just standing on his toes? But putting that aside, I believe the second game, first game he had 40-something and 11 or 12. He doesn't rebound like Wilt did, but he scores. But in the second game, he had 9 blocks. He almost had a triple-double in the back doorway, meaning instead of assists, getting
Right.
Start thinking about the numbers this guy can put up. And just think what's going to happen when a night where he's can't miss.
Yeah.
The numbers he can put up, again, what is he, 23? What has he got? As long as he stays healthy, he's not even close to being good, his potential yet. It just boggles the mind. And when he's on the court, you can just see the whole game is about him. He's just the show. And again, staying healthy. And I always wonder, because it's a Porzingis body, and Porzingis has trouble staying on the court.
Yeah.
I always wonder if this guy stays healthy, the numbers he's going to put up. I can see, I know Wilt had ridiculous that 1 year where he averaged so much, but I can see this guy averaging 35 to 40 a night. I can see all that. And I can see, the interesting thing is there's talent. And usually the best player like Jokic is a tad better than the second or third best player. If Wemby fulfills his potential, you've got Wemby and about 10 notches down as the next player. It's beyond belief. 7'6", he can shoot threes. He can go to the basket. He's a one-man defense. What more? If he only makes $60 million in his best years, that's like underpaid. In NBA terms, I guess is the best way to put that.
Yeah. And you did age him a bit. He's only 22, which is just absolutely mind-boggling. But Wilt, as phenomenal as he was, I think when you take a step back, how many championships did he win? I think he only won one, right?
2.
One or two, yeah.
I think he won with a team in LA, and he won one with Philly.
Was it Philly? Yeah.
Well, with Phil.
And because I don't want to take away anything from Wemby's greatness, because he's great, but are they doing right by him in San Antonio? Does he see the foundational pieces of a really good team that could win it all?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Castle's a player.
Yeah.
And Harper's a player. And then Sohan's a nice bench player. Keldon Johnson's a good player. Vassell is a good player. They've got players.
Yeah.
What I could see, and this is a little crazy, but I could see them trading Fox because, if Harper is that good, do you need Fox?
Yeah.
And they can get a haul back for Fox.
Sure.
And if that happens, it almost becomes Oklahoma City, meaning he's got Sam Presti's got draft picks. He's got everything. How could they fall apart? Because as these guys want to make more money, he's going to be able, and he's a great talent evaluator, or his scouts are, but he makes great picks. So we could just keep that going forever. All they have to do is pay Shea, pay Williams, and Holmgren, and then work around that.
This time you get credit for the segue, because this is absolutely perfect. Speaking of the Oklahoma City Thunder, we talked about this last week. One of the things I enjoy talking to you is you call out players that I never heard of, and then I get to follow, right? And so you did that again this week. Introduce us to the Oklahoma City Thunder player, Jay Mitchell.
By the way, Trey Johnson, I think, had 17 the other night. But A.J. Mitchell is an interesting. He was born in Belgium, played for UCal Santa Barbara
Gaucho.
player. What's that? What'd you say?
Santa Barbara, those are the Gauchos.
That's right. But played for them, pretty regular career. The Sam Presti, going back to him, second round, 38th pick. In the last year, he played about 35 games. Didn't play a lot. And I didn't play in consequential, in tough games, close games.
Right.
All of a sudden, this year, you see this guy come in off the bench, and I'm watching it. I'm saying, wait a minute. This guy, he's not like letting other people handle it. He was the offense. And I'm saying, my goodness, where did he come from? And that's when I did a little research on him. And in both his first two games, he was just a great offensive player. I don't know if they have room for another when Williams.
What a good problem to have.
Again, and go back to what I said. He's in his second year, 2 more years into the rookie contract. So you begin to move out other people, and you can move him in that place. And just when Oklahoma City, if they do things right, and I have no reason not to believe they will, they can win or be in the finals or whatever for the next 5 years. I don't know, but they can be, because generally the team, and I'm going to use the Knicks are all in. But to go all in, they had to trade all their draft pick, most of their draft picks. They had to trade every asset they have. Oklahoma City, they haven't traded any of their assets, and they have picks from other teams.
Yeah.
So it just what has been done there. You probably won't see anything like that since Red Auerbach and the Celtics back in the 60s and the 50s, in the 60s really. But you won't see. They can dominate.
Yeah, it's absolutely scary to see how good they are. And they started this season, the team now, we're moving away from Mitchell, but the team, two overtime wins, which tells you a lot about everybody's number one out to get them, which is what you expect for a world champion. And then just the wherewithal it takes to not do it once, but twice.
If you watch basketball, you're getting games like that. The team that's done it usually wins.
Yeah.
And I'm going to give you a great example. Last night I had a little bit of, I was watching, tells you I have no life, but I was watching Philly and Charlotte. It's the fourth quarter. Charlotte's up by 5, 7, 8. And I'm thinking to myself, are they going to pull this off? In the last 3 minutes, Philly comes back, comes really a tie game with about 30 seconds, 27, whatever. Quentin Grimes hits that three, as I was talking about before.
Yep.
Grimes is a bench player. But you have to think Philly in a game against Charlotte expects to win. Charlotte is thinking, here we go again. Mm-hmm. And you see this often in the NBA where the good team figures it out at the end. Yeah. Rarely do you see that not weaker, but the poorer history, the team that's had more losing over the last couple of years, figure it out. So that's something Oklahoma City has in those double overtime games.
Yeah. No doubt about it. Speaking about a team with great history, a team that is a winning team, but they're old. They're not really old. The Geriatric State Warriors. I hope the name sticks because I just coined it. What are we going to see from that team this year? They're going to be good? They're going to be bad? Is it going to be a roller coaster ride, like you said?
You saw it the other day. They went out. They beat Denver.
Great game.
At the Thursday night? Yeah, Thursday night, overtime. You got 3 guys, your 3 best players are 35 or older. So they win that game. Now they have to come back the next night against Portland. Portland's a nice team.
Sure.
Portland going through a little bit of a problem with Chauncey Billups and so on. But Portland goes out and drills them. Why? First of all, Al Horford didn't play. That's not a major thing, but he didn't play in that game because he doesn't play back-to-back. Well, you're asking those 35, 36, 37-year-old people to be able to come back and play 2 nights in a row. What I'm going to say is this. Now, don't forget, Golden State played home against Denver. So you throw that out because it's a little advantage. But what I'm going to say is this. Golden State can beat anybody at any time. Moreover, depending on the schedule, they can lose to anybody at any time. Meaning, if they're playing a back-to-back against a weaker team, they can get beat. Well, it's a very interesting situation. It will be real interesting if they stay healthy in the playoffs. Can the old guys do it again? In my lifetime, the only time I saw an old team, and this is going back, 55 years ago, 56 years ago, was 69 Boston. That was the only time I saw an old team win a title. It was Bill Russell's last year. To win a title, though, with a bunch of old guys. Throughout the years, in all sports, teams get these old guys, and they think one more run. And it doesn't usually happen. But that's the only time in my mind I can recall, and I could be wrong, in sports, of an old team being able to do that.
Yeah.
And they won that playoff series. It was in LA, when there was supposed to be balloons for the Lakers, and it didn't quite work out. But in the Fabulous Forum. But anyway, I remember that night very well.
Okay. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Well, no, of course not. Like at the end of the game, when he was interviewed, asked what his cigar in his mouth said, what are they going to do with those balloons?
Right.
But anyway, let's move
When
on.
did this become Celtic Chalk Talk? You got the wrong thought.
Every day.
I hate to end on this note, but better than that note, we got to talk about the gambling thing. All right. You brought it up before. Chauncey, somebody that, I liked as a player a lot. He's caught up in this. I don't know, man. It's the state of the NBA, the fact that we have to talk about it at all. But what are your thoughts?
What are yours?
I'm trying not to dive too deep into it, but I did read a little bit about it and people's thoughts on it. And I think it was Barkley who said it's less addiction and more stupidity that's built on the competitive nature. You're talking about guys who have been the best at what they do forever. And you've got this I can't fail complex mentality. And it's so easy, right? When you think about the betting, the props, the over, the under, man, just sit out and we'll bet the under, easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Everybody wins. It's so easy. You've got this complex that you can't be touched. And it's the competitiveness, which we love from our players. And it's that mentality that drives them to do this. Because you brought it up in your article, right? These are multimillionaires and they're risking everything for a 50 grand payout. It makes no sense. But I think that's the only way it makes sense to me. I don't know. That's my thought.
I agree. And I don't want to get too philosophical, but when you go through in life, when things are going great, you think you can't be petted, nothing can go wrong. And I think that goes with it. Now, if you read about Rozier's situation, he called a childhood friend of his, and told him that he was going to go out in the first quarter or whatever. Rozier was probably thinking, and I don't want to, but I'm going to put thoughts into I'm making ridiculous money. Why not get my friends and get them and get some? And he threw that tip. The friend sold that information and made money as well as betting. That's where it gets a little. If he would have kept it to himself, he would have made money and probably we'd be fine.
Yeah.
Rozier shouldn't have done what he did. I understand because Rozier grew up not wealthy in Ohio. His father did jail time, or a lot of jail time. It's not been an easy life. So he's making it. Probably his friends aren't.
Right.
So I get it. But again, when you're making that money, you've got to be very careful about the people you run into, the people you get to know, and what they want out of you.
Yeah.
That's a very interesting thing. The few times I've known some people of some fame, they're usually they're feeling you out to make sure you're not looking to make something out of it. So that was the thought. And by the way, Jaylen Brown made a statement where the NBA's got to do more for us so we don't do this. No, the NBA talks to these guys about this stuff.
Yeah.
The NBA tells them about money and how to invest money. They try to teach them all that stuff. So I don't quite go there. And then we've got to look at something in our lives. And I'm an old person, but I'm going to say this. Sometimes when things go wrong, stop pointing your finger. Look at yourself.
Yeah.
And you know what? Okay, Jaylen, I got your point. But if Rozier didn't make that phone call, we wouldn't be here right now. As
Yeah.
for Chauncey Billups, I guess because he made a lot of money and was a Hall of Famer, we think those people make all good decisions in life, and they don't.
Yeah.
And I think Chauncey Billups made some bad decisions. But does that speak to the fact that because he has money, you only make good decisions? No, you're human and you make stupid decisions at times.
Yeah.
That would be the best way to put it.
Yeah. I mean, there's no positive spin. It's ugly. And the only thing we can hope is that it's contained, right, and resolved. But I heard a mafia representative, because they're talking to everybody about this. So somebody who was in the mafia and now out of the mafia, and he's talking, they asked his opinion. And he basically said, listen, it's been there from the tip and it will never go away. They're going to catch a few people, but gambling is here to stay and it's not going to go away. So, yeah.
Jaylen Brown made that statement. What he needs to realize, I guess he's making about $55 million. What he needs to realize, gambling's paying a lot of that because it's part of this money going into the league. Remember, 50% of the gross goes to the players in salary. So if FanDuel and all those other ones were involved, make a little bit less. So you got to realize once you buy in with the devil, this stuff happens. And the other thing, and it's really interesting, if you watch anything, they're talking about what's called prop bets, which means is Jaylen Brown going to score 20 points tonight? Who's going to get? In fact, the Super Bowl, I think there's a way you can bet on who's going to win the coin flip.
Yeah.
So they've developed all kinds of these easy props. So things are going to happen. It's common sense if you're a player, not common sense, but if you're on the sinister side, if you're a player, wait a minute, they got me scored 10 tonight, but if I hurt my leg in the first quarter, I ain't scoring 10.
Yeah.
It's just sensible. So maybe they need to start by removing prop bets.
Yeah.
And I do think back about 10 years ago when Goodell, the commissioner of the NFL, said gambling no good with the NFL.
Yeah.
It's right in the middle of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Ain't no easy way to spin it. We just have to hope that things don't spiral out of control, because they certainly could. But you heard it. The buzzer went off. We kept going because that's what we do, but our time is up. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Make sure to read Steve's entire 13 Rules, maybe Thoughts article. We will link it wherever you are watching or listening to this show today. Also, one last shout out. Make sure to listen to the Celtic Chalk Pod, or Celtic. I conflated both of those. The Celtic Chalk Talk podcast, which Steve will drop tomorrow and every Monday. And of course, make sure to read Steve's entire article. We just mentioned that. Also, please subscribe, follow, comment. All that stuff means the world to us, and we're grateful for all of it. Join us next week for more random NBA thoughts after we recap week number 2 of the NBA. We'll talk then. Thanks, Steve.
Take care.